Welcome to Devlin, no holds barred on SRB Radio, where we take a look into the beautiful game through the eyes of former Notts County, Birmingham City, Sheffield United, Watford and Walsall winger Paul Devlin. Dev, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Great to be here.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about youth football because there's been a 12-point plan. I'm a former manager, you're in there coaching and a former player, so we want to get our teeth into that. I want to talk about derbies because Birmingham City are playing Aston Villa. I also want to talk about the disregard of professional footballers in the game. But first, let's talk about your career to set it all up. And you started at Notts County as a kid, didn't you?
Yeah, came through the non-league group. Played every level of Sunday and Saturday football, sort of climbed the pyramid that way, and then the last year of the first division, as it was then before it became the Premiership, I had the trials at Leeds. They wanted to sign me, but I didn't like Leeds. I wasn't particularly keen on Howard Wilkinson, and I came back and signed for Neil Warnock at Notts County, which was a great decision because Leeds won the league and Notts County got relegated. But no, I had 4 great years at Notts County. Great club to start at, great city, great people. And obviously then got a dream move to Birmingham with my good pals Andy Legg and Michael Johnson. Good couple of years there. Didn't quite see eye to eye with Trevor Francis, who's obviously God at Birmingham when he come in. So there was only one winner there. 4 years away, then back to Blues for a great little, a great 2 or 3 years in their history when Brucey got us back into the top flight, which was fantastic. And then 3 years at Watford and a couple of years at Walsall. So not bad for a lad from Erdington.
And Scotland?
Yeah,
10 games for Scotland as
10
well?
10 games for Scotland. That all came very late, as most things did in my career, turning pro at 19, getting to the Premiership in my 30s, and then obviously getting my first cap at 30. Yeah. So that was great. I thought it had passed me by. I think the big catalyst for that was actually playing in the Premiership. I wasn't playing any better than I had done the previous 5 or 6 years for Blues or Sheffield United, but it was great to get the chance to do that. Craziest
manager that you played for?
Neil Warnock.
How mad was he?
Well, to be fair, Neil saw me from non-league at Notts County in 92. He was far, far crazier then than he was when I played for him again at Sheffield United. Yeah. But he's one of them, Neil. I loved him. If you were doing well for him and you tried for him, he'd go with you and he'd be great to play for. If you upset him and you didn't try, then obviously it was a different kettle of fish. But, if you look at his record, fantastic record of getting teams out of the Championship. Cardiff are up there flying again this season. But yeah, good manager now.
And a throwback to the good old managers where you'd got characters in the game. Yeah. Unlike what you've got today, it seems as though they ingest the coaching manual. Yeah. They get on board with the media side of it. Mm-hmm. No one wants to upset the apple cart. And this is where we want to get into the nuts and bolts of the game of football, you and I. The FA have brought out a 12-point plan. Now, you are coaching kids at the moment as well. What's your take on it, Dev? We're going to have a look at it bit by bit. And one of the first parts, there's 4... categories here. Calmer and safer. Yeah. More skillful. I'll go with that. Yeah. Faster development. Yeah, okay. And more competitive. On the surface, that looks pretty good, don't it? 3 out of 4 boxes there, you tick. But then when you're looking at him, spectators are encouraged to applaud when you score a goal. Yeah. Like no sliding tackles. Blue card rule. So if you get booked, you have to go and calm down for a couple of minutes. Referees marking like players, managers and coaching. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, it just seems, it smacks to me as another thing to make the game sterile.
Yeah.
Those things that they want to employ, and like you rightly say there, you think, yeah, that's a good idea. But then when you break it down and actually look how they want to implement these rules, you think, well, if you're going forward in your football career and you want to play at any level, you're going to be taught the exact opposite of that.
Exactly.
And what, listen... If you're a parent who's shouting and screaming from the sidelines and there's a rule in there, they've got to be quiet. Now, as soon as a kid gets in the car, you're going to shout and scream at him anyway. Yeah. So you're never going to stop that. Listen, and I agree, don't let people rant and rave and slag the referee and do this and do that. But to me, it's farcical. A lot of it's farcical. No slide tackling. So you get to any level, whether that's Sunday football, Saturday football, the pro game, you have to slide tackle.
Yeah.
So why are we trying to implement rules with kids now that as they go on, it's not going to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to do different things.
Yeah.
Now, I think, there is ways to improve stuff, and, I dare say the heart's in the right place with faster developments and stuff like that. But to me, you're just taking it all out the game. The game's about, I've been at matches sometimes at the Blues, or I've been playing in matches where a really good slide tackle, somebody crunching into it's got everyone going.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a spectacular 30-yard goal. And I just think they're trying to strip the game away again. And I'd wonder the people coming up with these rules, what their football background is.
Yeah. I think they're people that largely haven't played the game.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to have played it to a great standard international football, or you're either a football person or you're a non-football person. You're good with pens and pieces of paper, and I think that's sadly what the FA tend to be full of. I mean, another one here: rotate all players. Players must play at the back, in midfield, up front, and even have a turning goal. That's just bloody ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that the Dutch do something like this in their academies, but I can see logic in that because get people used to playing certain positions, but you're always going to gravitate to one position.
Yeah, but you're not going to play you at centre half.
Exactly. As
a kid, you've got your coaching, right, and you can look at a kid. I've been there coaching a manager as well. You know what skills kids have got, right?
Yeah.
Bits light, stick him on the wing. Big, boisterous, stick him down the middle. Centre forward, centre midfield, centre half.
Yeah.
He can catch a ball, stick him in goal. Football is not rocket science. No. There is no way I'll put my top goal scorer and go and stick him in goal.
Go and stick him
Why
at left
do
back?
that?
Well, Gab, this obviously smacks again of somebody with great theory.
Yeah.
In theory, then they'll know how to play left back, they'll know how to play centre half forward. But it doesn't work like that. The game doesn't work. Everyone can come up with these ideas and go, this will make that better. But in practice, does it work?
No.
And I think a lot of these things that they've wrote down in that plan are silly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, another one, if you go 4 goals up, the other team has to put another player on the pitch. You get your character. Your character's it gets built by playing in a game, going 2 or 3 or 4 goals down, you roll your sleeves up, you start fighting. What do you do then? You go 4 goals. Oh, yeah, John, come and play on this team. So you're playing against 8 versus 7 in a little small side game.
Another thing that as you get older will never happen, and it's a bit mamby-pamby to me. Oh, we don't want the kids to get beat 3 or 4-0. When I was a kid playing Sunday football, best team was always a team called Erdington Star. And I played for Jubilee Colts. We knew when we played them, you get beat 6, 7, 8, 9. Was, you knew that was the case and you wanted to be as good as they were or maybe get into and play for them. Unfortunately, not just football life, you're going to have knockbacks, you're going to have setbacks in every walk of life.
Yeah.
Now, if you're saying, well, once they go 3 or was it 4-0 down, put 2 or 3 other players on, and they get back to 4-3, well, that's not a true reflection of how the game's gone, is it?
No.
Because you've played with 4 more players for however long it takes. So to me, that's a nonsense.
Again, you're coaching. Where do you do your coaching and how old are the kids?
I go all over and I coach kids from 4 to 14, Erdington, Chelmsley Wood, Bromsgrove. It's a little bit different what I do because it's not for a team, it's just weekly coaching. So I'm not looking for the 11 best players. I just want to go there, coach them, hope they enjoy it and improve their technique. So I'm not looking to say, right, you're all playing the weekend. But, if I was running a team, I certainly would look at that and I'd think, who's actually took the time to sit down and write this down? And how much thought's gone into it with people that are football people, like you rightly say.
But again, I don't think, when you play with the kids, do you play matches as well as coaching?
Yeah, we always do a bit of technique for our fan. We'll always finish off with matches.
And all kids want to win, don't they?
Yeah, they all want to win. It's my lad was in the Blues Academy for 4 years. He got released, and when they was young, we don't have a league. We don't want them to know. Every kid knows if they've lost.
Exactly.
They could tell you how many they've lost that season, how many they've scored. So they all keep a mental track of it anyway. Yeah. And I just think it's, again, this nanny state of, we don't want any competition, we don't want any winning or losing. Well, if you want to be a professional sportsman, which I dare say a lot of these kids would love to be a footballer, that's what it's all about. It's okay to lose. We all lose. But it's also okay to win. We seem almost embarrassed in this country if we've got a team or a person or a player or a sportsman who brags about winning. Look how good I am. Yeah. We seem to be embarrassed by it, and other countries nurture that.
I think you've got to learn to win. All right, there's a way to win, but hard, fair, competitive. And as I say, every kid that I've coached and managed, every one of them wanted to win a game of football. We didn't win every game. We won quite a lot. We got to finals. And you know, the competition has got to be there. You've got to put yourself under a fair amount of stress because that's when you come to it. You know, your bigger games, it's like with your derby games, you know, you rise to the occasion. So when you're coaching these kids at a young age, don't be competitive. Make sure you pass the book. Hold up, go on.
I'll just catch up on a few.
Yeah, go on. Go
on. Kevin Sampson says, I coach for a team and these rules are balmy and they will never work, says Kevin. Peter Carroll says, I've only just joined this. Where are these rules coming from?
Well, they're coming from the Football Association, yeah.
Okay. And another one says, okay. Keep right on, Paul. Hope you're there Sunday at St Andrews, the Villa.
I'll be there.
I tell you what, there's a lot of fans, Dev, that wish that not only were you there in a capacity of a Birmingham City ambassador, but got your boots on and were playing against Aston Villa.
Oh, listen, mate, if only. I was out with Jeff Horsfield the weekend and we were talking about it. We have some great memories of the first couple of games from what we can remember after the night's out. And it was just, I think if you ask us both, it's probably the one or two or three games that you remember for the rest of your life. We both played a lot of games, but we always talk about that whenever we're out and we're having a beer. People always ask us about it. You just give your left arm to be playing in a game like that. And I just hope that the lads who are fortunate enough to play in it on Sunday realise what it means.
How different is a derby game? Because they say, going back to the kids and going to the kids' development and they're wanting them to not tackle, not be competitive. Do you know what I mean? And then you're going to be thrown in to a game, where it's the biggest game that a Birmingham City and an Aston Villa supporter has got in their calendar, isn't it? Everybody is up for it. The lead up to it. Going into it as a player, if you're not up for that game, you shouldn't be playing a game of football, should you?
Well, the one thing you've got to be in a derby game more so than any other game is competitive and
physical
and aggressive.
Yeah.
I was fortunate. I played in a Notts County, Notts Forest derby, a Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday derby, obviously Blues Villa, all massive games. But the Blues Villa one, and I think my first taste of it was the year we got promoted, because it had been 16 years since we played them in the top flights. Obviously, it was a night game under the lights, which at St Andrews is always a special atmosphere. Yeah. And I'd done a lot myself and Michael Johnson had done a lot in the build-up to it the week before, and we did stuff with Malberg and Ian Taylor. And Malberg was that arrogant and wrote us off in all the build-up to this game. And I just remember being in the tunnel before the game, and Jeff Horsfield will tell you as well, and Grange and John, we were like 11 lunatics in the tunnel. We were shouting, screaming, we was banging it, we was going mad, geeing yourself up. And the Villa lads come out, and they looked, and they had a few foreigners in the team. They had a few players that didn't know the sort of magnitude of the game. Yeah. And we had them beating the tunnel. We had them beating the tunnel. And you can ask, if ever you speak to Jeff Horsfield, he'll tell you the time. They looked terrified. And we come out, the rest was history, 3-0. The incoming incident. And it was brilliant. And then obviously we went to Villa Park again, beat them 2-0. But you've got to be aggressive and physical in those games, first and foremost. You've got to put your stamp on the game. They're frenetic. You don't get 2 seconds. But they're also the best games in the world to play. And they're the game. I guarantee you, all the managers will come out with the PC. Oh, no, it's only 3 points. And this first game they look for is Villa Blues. I guarantee you without a doubt.
But again, it isn't just 3 points, is it?
No.
The players, and we were lucky in them days because, local lad like yourself and Jono and the horse. We had, I suppose if you look, you're looking at a kind of throwaway term, kind of working class kids playing for Birmingham City.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I remember bumping into Steve Bruce when I was finishing my career at Walsall. And I love Bruce because I played with him. I played for him at Sheffield United and he brought me back to Blues. I was actually with him the other night at the... what was it? The Cardiff game, yeah. Okay. He was at the Cardiff game, so I had a drink with him then. But I remember speaking to him, and obviously myself, he'd broken that team up, and he said, Dev, he said, you know what? He said, I broke that team up 2 years too early. He said, because, and he reeled off the names of the players in that team. He said, I knew what you were all going to give me. He said, I knew to a man. He said, I knew you wouldn't all play well.
Yeah.
He said, but I knew I was going to get this out of you. He said, and if you can say that about 8, 9, 10 of your players on every Saturday, you've got a chance. I think that's what we were. You know, we had some good players, don't get me wrong, but we also had players that could play, and if you wanted to mix it, they'd mix it with you as well. We had a great work ethic, and you could rely on everyone. You know, you knew that your pal was going to back you up, and there's a lot to be said for that. And you know, I think as well, you know, that team probably broke up a year or two a little bit too early.
Yeah, I think sometimes what happens when you get promoted, you know, into that Premier League, managers look at it and think, oh, look at all these players, they're international stars, and I need to buy a new team. But, you know, anybody with half a brain, really, when you look at it in a cold light today, if you're going up any season, or even if you want to improve a team, you don't want to bring in any more than 3 or 4, you know, in the summer, do you?
No.
And integrate them players, and then, you know, the next window possibly bring in 2 or 3. So you need the nucleus of that team, bring in a couple, but they've got to be players that are going to give something and gel into the existing team. It's no good bringing some of these big-time Charlies into a dressing room like that we had, because it just don't work. There's a disharmony.
Just quickly catch up. Tracy wants to know how's your son's leg?
He's okay, he's getting better, he's out his plaster now, so hopefully he'll be training again in a few weeks.
Good stuff. And Tracy, you owe me £1 still. Kevin Sampson says, I have a goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders and strikers. They have been taught those positions, not a striker in goal and a defender up front. And Jonathan wants to go back to the British way of playing, centre-half, wingers, centre-forward, job done.
But I think also, it's almost now as if these managers sit down and think, right, what's the most outrageous formation I come up with? You know, football's a simple game. Yeah,
it is.
You know, people make it complicated. We're going to play a false number 9 or a withdrawn number 10, or we're going to do this and that. And you think, they must sit for hours thinking of these different formations to come up with. So it loses me a bit at times. But just going back to what we're talking about with managers when they get promoted, I think they almost look and they think, well, we've got to go to the next level now. Well, what is the next level? I mean, you get rid of Darren Carter, who really should have stayed at Blues for 10 years and built the team around him. You bring in the likes of Muzzizic, Gronkia, Heskey, Melchior. Now, no disrespect to them, they had far better careers than I ever had, but how much did they really want to play for Blues? If you look back in the cold light of day and say, did they give what Jeff Horsfield would give you, what Stern John would give you, what Martin Granger would give you, what Jeff Kenner would give you? I'd say no.
I'd say no as well, because I think that, again, what you've alluded to before, you've got to have that passion to play, and I think especially when you're playing for a team like Birmingham, that's what the fans expect. They'll forgive you miss, you know, a ball rolling off you. They'll forgive you sticking the ball in the back of the tilt, and where it would have been easier to put it in the back of the net. As long as they see that endeavour, they see that you're running through a brick wall for them. That's what the Blues fans
I agree.
love.
Not everyone can play well, and I had more bad games than I care to remember. But I think the one thing that people won't forgive you for is anything less than 100% effort. Now, to me, that's got to be your starting point of any professional footballer. Your starting point is, right, I'm going to run through a brick wall today. If I'm not going to play well, the bloke playing against me is not going to play well. I'm going to do something to disrupt the other team. And I don't see too many players now with having that as their starting point, 100% effort. And it's a sad indictment on the game, but you know, I see a lot of football, especially when you look at the Premier League sometimes. I mean, I watched a kid at West Ham and Altovich the weekend.
Awful, wasn't he?
Walked around.
Yeah.
Now, to me, if that was some of the teams, the good teams that I played in years gone by, there'd have been a fight in that dressing room after. Because I think Graham Souness said it, didn't he, about Liverpool the other day? Yeah. Some of the senior pros wouldn't let you get away with that. And I look now and I think, well, how much do they really want it? It's probably nothing was said.
But again, you could look at the Birmingham City performance, couldn't you, at Millwall? You know, if that was back in your day, and you produced a performance like that, what would the senior pros would have said to players that clearly weren't putting it in?
Well, they'd have had a lot to say, and I dare say it would have got physical at times if the players getting told didn't like it. You know, the manager, if it was Steve Bruce, would certainly have a lot to say. It was a shame because after the Cardiff game, which I thought was very positive, you think, well, great, we've got a great week now, 2 televised games here, and let's go and build on that. But it just looked back to the bad performances of a few weeks ago, which which shocked me really. Disappointing, really disappointing.
So back in your day, who were the players that would have like really given it out? If the team didn't perform, you know.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it'd come from the manager, and then he'd look at, Steve Vickers, Jeff Horsfield, Martin Grant. We had a lot, really. We had a lot of players that
characters,
were very Jeff Kenner. And then a little bit later on, Kenny Cunningham, people like Matty Upson. We had quite a lot of leaders in the team, really. I wasn't averse to having a little moan myself now and again.
I believe
it. Anyone who played with me will tell you. So, we had a lot. Jono, Ian Bennett.
Yeah.
Everyone would have a say. We had a team there of proper men.
Yeah.
That you could have a row and fall out with each other. It'd be all forgotten about. We'd go and have a beer, and the next day we both want to die for each other on the pitch again. And that's why it was a good team, because you could rely on each other. I look sometimes at teams and I think, well, who's pulling the strings? Who's the Martin O'Connor?
Exactly.
That's getting everyone into position, that's giving them a rollicking. I don't see it often enough.
Who's going to put them up a wall and, read them the right act?
Yeah,
that's what
sort
happens
yourself
in football. You see all this, it's a harmonious dressing room. All the players love each other. There's never any rows. There's never any punch-ups at training. I mean, do me a favour. Jump into the real world. There's always rows. There's always rucks at football clubs. Well,
the best captain of a team I've seen in my sort of time watching the Premiership has been Roy Keane.
Yeah.
And, I think it's well documented how Keane is. It was ruled by fear with Keane, wasn't it? But every player that played with him loved him as a player. You look at all these 1-11s that they do, and if people played for Man U, Keane's always in the team.
Yeah.
And you need characters like Martin O'Connor was very similar. Not saying if he's listening, you weren't as good as Roy Keane, mate. But Martin was like that. He'd pull you around, tell you what to do, and if you weren't doing it, he'd go, "Hey, come on, sort yourself out." I mean, I'm sort of sanitising what he'd say to you there. But you need characters, you need leaders like that. The great Liverpool team of the 70s and 80s, people like Souness. And, you have to have them people that are going to grab the team and the game by the scruff of the neck. And just don't see it enough these days.
And I think you're right. And I think it's, it ain't just Birmingham. It's lots of teams, like you just said, like there with the boy there, Notovic. You can look at so many football teams, so many football players, whether they're too comfortable these days, they've got too much money. In fact, Troy, when he played against Arsenal the other week, he'd come off and he more or less said, I knocked them about a bit, I was a bit physical, I could see that they didn't want it, and we bullied them.
Yeah.
But it's common knowledge that if you want to beat Arsenal, get in the faces, get it up them, and they'll shy away. They like to play football. They like to back off. It's almost as though, that blueprint of academy football. They've grown up. They've done that, and that's the product. You've got to have that bit of physicality as well.
Well, how many times have you heard managers like Allardyce be criticised, or Pulis get criticised, and players like Troy get for playing that way? Well, what are they supposed to do when they go toe-to-toe with Arsenal? Stand off and try and pass it. Arsenal are going to murder you. Yeah. You get in the face, you bash them up, and they don't like it. And then you hear Wenger and people like moaning, "Oh, it's not the way we want to play." Listen, you have to do what suits your team. Troy Deeney's going to come on. He's a big, strong lad. I know Troy really well. And he's come on and he's roughed them up and they couldn't handle it. Yeah. Now, did they want so? Well, don't do that. Just get the ball to feet and try and take us all on, which he can't do. Yeah. So it's horses for courses.
It is, and it always will be. And I think that's it. There's more than one way to win a game of football. And it's another thing that gets me in the modern game, everything is just so media savvy that it's just... It is, a word that you've used earlier, sanitised. Nobody wants to say it as they see it. It's refreshing to hear pros just say what they see, because fans ain't stupid. They know what's going on. And football clubs, it's all as though we don't want anything to get out these days. We don't want any fan to know what's going on. Now, they'd be better off if they said, you know what, we've had a row. Yeah. There has been a row. The best of mates, they went on the piss, on the night, and they've sorted it out. That they have nights out. Barry Fry, when he went out, that you'd have. Leeds United before they started the game, they'd probably have a drop of scotch.
Oh, it was renowned. Cloughy was renowned for it. But
what's the problem with that?
It's this siege mentality that the world's against us, it comes across, and you got to toe the party line. Everything's great, and there's no problem. Well, very rarely have I been at a club where there's not been some sort of problem or the other. But
Yeah.
players today and managers and whoever are terrified to speak. Now, for what reason, I don't know.
No, I don't.
But they're just terrified to speak out. And like you say, you see some of these interviews and you could just...
Pointless, isn't it?
You could mute them and it could be the same interviewed in 20, 30 players.
Yeah.
Because they're saying nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't really see the point of them doing the interviews.
I don't.
To be honest with you.
No, I mean they're all media trained, but they don't actually say anything. So what's the actual point?
That's the problem. They're trained. The media trained not to give anything away. Now, listen, I'm not saying you've got to tell everyone the inner workings of what's going on a day-to-day basis at the club, but
Exactly.
you know, people go there and watch the game. They know what they've just seen.
Yeah.
You can't come out and sort of waffle them and go, oh no, it was this and it was that. People ain't daft.
No,
They know if they've watched the bad game. They know if players have had a nightmare. So, you know, sometimes you just got to be honest.
Former pros, you're in the game from a kid. You have your career, like yourself. You played non-league football before you dropped out. Why don't more players stay in the game? What seems to be the problem with football clubs? Because if you, whatever job that you do, whether it be an accountant or whatever it is, you need people that know what they're on about. Now, with football, you would assume that people that have played the game know the game. You'd want them people involved in the game. But there seems to be a reticence to have former pros around the place, disregard them, and have people with these coaching badges come in and I just don't get that. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous.
I think you're right. You were on a really good point here. The amount of ex-pros and experience that's out there at every city, every club, it's the most untapped resource in a profession that it shouldn't be like that. I think the badge thing is massive. That, you know, we've created this badge culture now. And, you know, I'm not saying you need to be a former player to be a great coach or a great manager. Far from it. But it helps.
Yeah, it does.
It's not a minus. It's a massive positive.
Yeah.
Because you've got the experience. You've been there. I think a lot of the reason why they're not utilised in academies and stuff like that is because you rightly say you've got people in there who are very good on PowerPoint, who have got all the badges, who can talk the talk, and they're terrified. The simple reason is they don't want an ex-pro in there in case they take their job. So it's safe for them not to have any ex-pros in there. And I firmly believe that. I mean, you look at the resource, some of, you know, I was with Tony Colton the other week, and then, you know, you got Mick Harp, heroes of mine from the early 80s. And you think you could learn. I mean, even now I'm 45, finished playing. I just sit and learn and listen to them.
Yeah.
Their experiences. You know, Tony Colton telling us how from Tamworth he used to get training. It was 2 buses and he'd run 2 miles. Somebody who wanted to be a player, wanted to play for Birmingham City. But it's a massive resource out there for kids that isn't getting used in the game. And I don't know what the answer is to it, because the badge thing is, it's all that matters now, it appears to me to be. The problem is you got a lot of ex-players that haven't got the time, because it takes years to get up to pro level. Years.
Yeah, it does.
And the costs thousands. And contrary to what people believe, 99.9% of ex-pros come out the game and have to carry on working.
Yeah.
Do you know, especially from my sort of era backwards.
Yeah.
So they ain't set for life where they can just do what they want. And they can't afford to go and work in an academy and take the badges for £100 a week. It's just not possible. But there's got to be a way where they can sort of get ex-pros involved with helping these kids, coaching them, or even from a mentoring point of view. You know, listen, I know you might be going through this at the moment, but this is how I dealt. You know, I dealt with it. It's got to be. There's got to be a way in the game, for, you know, to impart that experience on the players coming through.
I agree. When I first started coaching, the players were 11. I thought, well, what I'll do, I'll go down to Birmingham City and I'll look at what they're doing, and then I approached one of the chief scouts there and I said, would you mind if I looked at the way that you coach? No? Okay. Yeah. So I was just watching from the side and I said, I ain't being funny though, mate. What can you tell a player there? Bob Latchford was there at the time, and he was there on the training. What can you tell a player that Bob Latchford can't? Yeah. Now, Bob's actually played the game, so if you've got a central striker there, why don't you have a one-to-one with Bob? Because he can tell you all the tricks of the trade. Who did you play for? Yeah. I'm not saying that you ain't a good coach, but the experience of a professional footballer is far greater than any piece of paper that an FA can give you.
Well, I mean,
bad news, Paul. Wikipedia have got you down as 50.
50?
50?
40,
Who has?
45. Wikipedia.
It's not good, is it?
Can I sue him for that?
Well, I don't know what Wikipedia you're looking at, because the Wikipedia that I looked at had you down at 45.
45.
This has come from Junior Allen. I don't know if you know him.
I do know Junior.
Oh, he's winding you up then.
And I'm not 50.
Yeah.
And tell him, has he got that electrician for me? No, but just touching back on what you were saying there about Bob, and like I say, I don't think you have to be a pro to be a good coach or a good manager. I mean, people realise, well, Mourinho and Wenger were pros. They were at a low level, but they were pros, so they were good players. But the thing that you could have all the badges and you could have all the knowledge and you could be great, this and that. But if a player comes to you and say, listen, I've had this in a match day situation, what do I do? You can't answer that.
No, you can't.
If you've been a pro, like Bob Blatchford, top player, you can answer that. Or you can give him your advice.
Yeah.
So that's where I think it's different. It'd be great to sort of marry the two and go, well, this is what we've got. We've got this great coach, but there's a player there that you can talk to.
Yeah.
Because sometimes players don't make good coaches. I've played under some great players that weren't very good managers, mentioning no names.
How bad was it with you and Trev?
No, we just didn't get on. Yeah. To be fair, I have a laugh and a joke about it. It broke my heart because I wanted to stay and have a 10 years at Blues and have a testimonial and do a Steve Bull or whatever. But it happens when, he came in. I wasn't one of his signings. I was one of Barry's signings. I did really well for him the first year, top scorer, player of the year. Great start to his second season, but then we just fell out, really. I was coming to the end of my contract. My exact words to him were, well, I want the same deal that Paul Furlong was on. And he said, well, we've bought Paul Furlong from Chelsea. And I said, well, but he's here now, and I'm doing the same. I said, I don't want any more. I said, I just want the same as Paul Furlong. And he thought I wasn't worth it, basically. Then that was it. There was parting of the ways.
So again, the thing is, I mean, what would you have said? You were a winger or an inside forward?
Well, I was always a winger. I played majority of my career. I played right midfield, really. I could play down the middle. I enjoyed playing down the middle because you're more involved in the game. Out wide, you're always the first one to get brought off more often than not, and you can be isolated out the game. But as long as I was in the team, I weren't bothered where I played. So I'd probably say a winger, really.
But again, your goal return for being a wide player, a wide midfield, was fantastic.
Yeah, I managed to get over 100 goals, over sort of 500 odd games, which was good for a predominantly right winger. So I can't complain, really.
Any goals that really stand out?
Yeah, I think the Leeds goal. Obviously, of course, it was the first Premiership goal at home, first win in the Premiership. I remember scoring one in '97 that was goal of the season for the Blues at QPR away. So, yeah, there's a couple. I mean, I think the most daunting one, but you can't really class it as a proper goal, was taking the penalty at Cardiff in the playoff final when the goal looked about the size of a matchbox. So that was nerve-wracking. But I've been fortunate to score a few down the years.
See, that's the thing. Everybody asked Darren Carter how he felt. But you took the second penalty, didn't you?
I can't remember. Second or third one, I can't remember. Well, listen, I think Daz probably was the least nervous out of all of us because he was an 18-year-old kid. He didn't realise what it was all about. But in fairness, we'd practiced penalties every day for weeks leading up to that. And I knew we had some real good penalty takers. But let me tell you, it was the worst experience of my life running up to take that penalty. Yeah. Because all that's going through your mind is, don't be the one to miss. Don't be the one to miss. You're going to be remembered as the one that missed. And then when it scored, I still remember what I'd done. Now I'd done that and sort of wiped my face. And I could have burst. I was that emotional. I could have burst into tears. And then obviously when Daz puts it in and cements his place in folklore forever, it was the 3 days after it were a blur, to be honest with you. But it was just probably the highlight of my career.
Most gifted player that you played with?
Oh, Christophe Dougray.
Yeah.
Christophe was unbelievable. You don't win the World Cup and the European champ. Great fella as well.
Okay.
Yeah, great fella, funny bloke. I just remember one quick story. If we had a Saturday game, Steve Bruce would really work us on the Tuesday. Yeah. We'd have the Wednesday off. So we're all in the gym. We're in pairs and we're on the row. We're going mad, punch bag, this and that. No sign of Christophe. About 10 minutes into the session, he pops his head round the door. So I'm on the rower and Jeff Horsfield's doing this and Granger's doing that. And we had this physio called Neil McDermott, and Neil went, Christophe, once Dev's off that rower, you jump on that rower. And I'll never forget, he was drinking a cup of tea, he just looked at you and went, footballer, not rower. He went back out. So we've all looked at Steve Bruce, and what are you going to say? And he went, you can do that when you've won the World Cup. So, but he was great, very gifted player.
But again, there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot of players that, will put it in, and then there's others that, Garley, when he come from, Tottenham and he's asked to run round Wasdales, we don't do that at Tottenham. them type of players don't do them type of things well, do they? But what they do well is win things.
I think when you've got someone as good as Christoph, there's a lot that think they're as good as Christoph that aren't. Now, that's a different story. I think when you've got someone like Christoph, you're not expecting him to do what Savvy used to do and run around and annoy everyone. You know he's got the quality and he's going to win you a game. So you sort of bite the bullet with him to a certain... As long as it doesn't affect the team adversely, where people go, well, hang on a minute, I'm running me... Watch it off here, and he's standing still. And it didn't for the first year or 18 months. I wasn't there when he left, but you have to make allowances for really, really gifted players like. And let's be honest, you're talking about a World Cup winner here. So, and I think at that time we would have stopped up comfortable without Christoph that season. I'll be honest with you, but he was sort of the cherry on the cake.
If there's one player that you could take from your playing career into the Derby game on Sunday, what player would that be, Dev? What are Birmingham missing? What's the ingredient that Birmingham are missing?
Well, there's three. I don't know. Well, two really. Three.
Take three.
It'd be John O'Granger and Horsfield.
Yeah.
They'd be the three that I'd take into it.
For the physicality.
They could all play as well.
Yeah.
Don't be wrong. I mean, Horse, he scored important goals.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at him as a centre forward, he wasn't a prolific centre forward, but he always seemed to score on big occasions.
Yeah.
You know, the playoff final, the Villa games. Grange, probably the best left back in the Championship for a long, long time. And my old mate Jono, probably one of the most underrated defenders going. And you could hang your hat on all three of them.
Now, Granger said...
Just quickly, on the same subject, Dominic wants to know, do you think the team will be mentally up for it and realise how important it is to win over local rivals?
Well, if they're not, they should never wear the shirt again. If you can't get up for a Villa game, regardless of if you're a Brummie or not, realising the size of this game, you don't deserve to be in a game like that.
Do you think players care as much though, Dev? Like obviously you guys did in your days, and you're probably the last of a dying breed. These players these days don't seem to care as much as what you guys
I think they do care. I think definitely the likes of Gardner and obviously Carr's on the coaching staff who are Brummies, who are Blues fans. It does mean more to you. There's no two ways about it. If you're a Brummie and you're a Blues fan, it means more to you than if you're a kid from down south or from France. But yeah, everyone's played in derby games, so I think you'd like to think that it'll mean the world for them on Sunday.
What do you reckon?
Well,
in terms of score,
we're coming off a bad performance, aren't we, away at Millwall? I think it'll be a close game, and I think first goal could be the decider. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 Blues.
Now, I think we'd all settle for that. Now, Granger said you were one of the few players that he didn't like playing against because you were a winger. You were a ferocious, a tenacious winger. Generally, wingers are a bit light. You give them a kick first time the ball comes anywhere near you, and they go missing for 20 minutes. You didn't. You get kicked, you'd always go back for more, wouldn't you?
Well, it's nice for Grange to say that because he was probably one of the toughest players you could come up against, Grange. But yeah, that side of the game always, I always enjoyed it as long as it
physical battle.
It didn't get silly. I mean, I had my fair shares of sending off down the years. I probably took it a little bit too far at times. But you're playing against someone like Granger, and I played against him many times. At some stage he's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And it's almost like who's going to be the cleverest to get the first one in here. And, I had some good battles with him, but that was always part of the game I never shied away from because people as a winger do expect you to run a mile.
Yeah, they do.
And I think they used to get a shock. Like I said, it was a bit of small man syndrome as well. They get a shock when they booted me and I went back and booted them a little bit harder. But that, the physical side of it was something I enjoyed. It seems to be going out the game as well now. It's almost like you can't put a tackle in without it being a foul, and you can't have a foul without it being a booking. Look back at some of the great players all over the Harford and people like that. They'd last about 10 minutes today, wouldn't they?
I don't think they'd last that long. Was that the bell? Does that mean we've got to pack it in? Dev, can I thank you very much for your time?
Loved it, mate. Thanks.
We're going to be doing this every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks. What suits you?
Whatever you think, mate. Whatever you think.
Till next time, thanks for watching, listening. Goodbye. God bless.
Cheers.
Cheers, Dev.
Cheers, Gab.